So let's start. Hi, my name is Ivo Fernandes. I'm a Flutter developer at Devexperts. And before being a Flutter developer, I worked as a web developer. So I'm not as experienced as most mobile developers with Android or Swift. And today I'll show you how I can use ChatGPT for work as a developer, and also how it compensates, like where I'm not as comfortable in the market and how it can help. So first, as an introduction. So ChatGPT is to Android Studio a bit like how GPS is to a paper map. So on Android Studio, you have like all the maps and all the functions and classes that you have in your product and your project. But the way it suggests stuff to you, it's like gives you a lot of information, like all the methods, all the classes are on Android Studio. And it has a lot of precision, but doesn't filter the information very well that you need to see. So what Copilot and also what ChatGPT is doing more than what the GPS give you just information that you need right now. And especially ChatGPT is even better, because what happens with Copilot is that you have a problem and you ask for a solution and it gives you a solution and you don't have a feedback loop. So it's that what it gives you, but with ChatGPT you can say, okay, this is not working well, I had this error, and you can copy the errors to the ChatGPT and it will adapt and evolve as you give more input and you give more context, and as it has a lot of context, ChatGPT Plus especially, it can like really evolve and improve the solution that you have based on your own input. Okay, so as a disclaimer, you should not put the secret sauce of your company into ChatGPT, because OpenAI already have enough power right now, and you should be careful to don't give any competitive advantage of your company to them, because they can learn with your input and they can use for purpose that you are not expecting. So ChatGPT is much better when you try to use for educational purposes or with little context. It's very good also to use like micro frontends, microservice stuff that have a very small scope, and there it's much safer to use it on your daily tasks. So let's start with Copilot examples. So Copilot can be useful for you to generate code, also can be useful to generate documentation or to create automated tests. And I'll show you right now a micro app that we use on our application. So we are doing a crypto wallet, and that crypto wallet has NFTs. And the NFTs can have like different types of content, can have like images of different formats, videos of different formats, also audio. And when, for example, the client comes to us and say, okay, this NFT is not working well in the app, what we need typically is like an URL or something that we can see on our phone, because it might not be working well on iPhone or not be working on Android, as is it multi-platform. And with this example application, we can test with different formats, but what I will show you right now is what will happen when they send us an URL of something that is not working, and how we can use Copilot to perform that test. So we can put the comment of the URL that they just passed to us in the widget that is showing these buttons that we are seeing in the right. And what Copilot will typically respond to something like this is like already a functional button with what we need to test this URL. And you can have the main focus on what will open. So it will open a bottom sheet showing this URL as the this model is presenting it, and he could also infer, as you can see, that was an SVG, so it already adapted the name of the button, so you can see in the screen that you are open an SVG based on just on your URL. Okay, I will also show you how it can generate documentation. So here we are seeing just the first lines of a class that is used for playing or to stop videos. And just by adding these slashes right here, Copilot can immediately suggest us some explanation. So like when I started to work, a lot of developers did not comment the code, because it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of energy. And sometimes we are just trying to make something work and we don't take the time that we should to make the code like maintainable. But now with Copilot is much easier, because even if it's not like the perfect explanation of what the class is much better than starting from the scratch. Like you have already an example of what you can do to document the class. Another example that it's very good for Copilot is that you can just put a comment with your intention. So this is an example of a test. So an automated test that starts the application and takes screenshots. And let's say you want to tap the button that is called received, but you don't know how to use the Flutter API to do the test. So you can just tap your attention and Copilot in the second line just gives you a functional instruction that is integrated with all the variables that you are using in this test. But now let's go to the most impressive stuff, that is ChatGPT. So in our application, in the crypto app, it's supposed to be possible to back up the wallet. So we can encrypt the wallet and send the wallet to a cloud where it will stay there even if something happens to the phone, so the user don't lose the funds. And for that, we are using the CloudKit iCloud solution. That is something that is like a key pair. So we can use like the wallet ID and store the encrypted wallet as a value of that wallet ID. But when we started to use this CloudKit stuff, what happened is that when you try to save the wallet ID for the first time, it always works. But when you try to save for the second time, it gives you an error that is duplicated key. So that wallet ID is already in the system, so you need to delete it before you save it again. So it's not really an override by default. If is something there, it just gives you an exception. So we needed to remove first and save it again. But when we try to do the remove will not have a callback. So instead of, if you put an await, it will never respond. And if you did not put the await, what will happen is that you will have the duplicated error because the key was already there. So we needed to fix the Swift code, or we needed, like if it was 10 years ago, what most people would probably do will pick like the Tor hammer and just put an await for half a second and okay, it worked and it's fine. But now we can use ChatGPT to do a better work. So I'll show you how I used ChatGPT to fix the Swift code that is really out of my comfort zone. And was a bit like this. So I just picked the code from the GitHub of the library and told him that I needed to fix. I did not even need to explain that was the delete that will not respond. No, ChatGPT just looked to the code, explained that, okay, the delete is probably not working because it's not doing the result like the other methods, and just gave me a Swift code that I could just copy to there, and okay, it worked. It was amazing, yeah. And if you are curious, it was a bit like this. So it tries to find the record that is already in the system, and if it finds the record, it returns true. If no, it returns false. So yeah, it was a simple solution actually, but yeah, for example, for me that I don't know how to debug the code of Swift, like even Xcode, I just use the Xcode mostly to build the final application. Like I'm not even familiar with Xcode. I just use Android Studio, and I could just fix this on Android Studio. I could just pick the Swift code for Android Studio, it compiled, it worked, and was really great. I just seen the difference on Git, seeing what did change. Okay, now as a developer, so one problem that we had in our crypto application that was quite complex for a developer was that we needed to create a shard, and the shard needed to be custom. And if you already use some shard library, normally they are quite heavy, difficult to use. So we started by trying to do it by ourselves. So on Flutter we have something that is the custom paint, that is a bit like an SVG that can render stuff in the screen. And what I did to start the shard is like I picked the data that I had, like we have a candle price that has the date, the close price, the open, the volume, and all this market data, and I copied the class to the ChatGPT, and I told him that I want to create a line chart based on the close price, and copied the widget, like the screen, where I wanted to have the chart. And this is what happened. So it gave me a result of a chart that it's not really lines, it's circles. I don't know why, but it already calculated like where each position should be. So this is the chart of Bitcoin, and it's already showing like all the movements that happen. And this is quite difficult to do actually, because you need to calculate what is the viewport that you have, what is the maximum, what is the minimum, and where should each pixel be, so you create the drawing. But yeah, it's not really what we want. We wanted like a line. So here we can see how you can evolve when we started something and you don't get exactly what you need. So you can go to ChatGPT and tell him what is the difference. So I just told him that I would prefer to have a line chart and that I want that line chart to be green. And yeah, this was the result. So it could really evolve just on like 3 lines or a very small phrase explaining what was wrong. And yeah, it was great. Now moving to how it works as a code reviewer. So now you can use ChatGPT to help you to review other people's code, but also to review your own code whenever you want. So you can just tap review and pass the code, and it will give you like a lot of feedback, and a lot of times we will also give you the code fixed. So in this example, I passed something that was close to to a code that I reviewed, that was trying to do a difference and have and could have some errors. So these have two errors right here. So it's a text that should split on the minus and perform the difference. But the method is called performed sum, and ChatGPT recognizes that error. But even better, like if you pass as text just one number, as we are picking the first and the last, if you have just one number, the first and the last are the same number, and it would return 0. So ChatGPT also discovered that, yeah, we should validate that we have enough data, at least 2 elements, so we can perform a difference. And it just detected it. And yeah, as you use it to review, it's very useful. So you can just be reading one class of code and passing another to ChatGPT, and it will take some time to review. And after, you can see what ChatGPT give you, and it can like enhance your capabilities of reviewing code, because you can review much more with more attention and focus on what's the big problem. Because when you have like a class that has 200 lines of code to review, and you have a lot of them to review, it's very difficult, and ChatGPT can be very useful to help you on that task. And yeah, moving to another context. So ChatGPT also can be useful to interact with Git, because like Git desktop or source tree, they are used mostly to do like stuff like commits, push, pulls, stuff that we do, like the operations that we do more frequently. But when we try to do stuff that is different, like we want to revert a commit, or we want to delete all branches, all stashes, normally the interface is not that good, but we can just ask ChatGPT for a command, and it will give us, like, it's much easier than go to Google and to search on a Stack Overflow response. Like, it can give you exactly what you need, and very fast. It can also be useful for creating Jira tasks. So you can give like the main purpose of your task, and it will give you like a structure with the title, the description, the objective, how you should test the task, what are the criteria to evaluate, and it will give you like everything that you need just based on a very small input. And yeah, it can also be very useful on stuff that is like Firebase, like the rules of Firebase. We are doing the backup, as I told you, of the wallet, but to do the backup in a safe way, like the user needs to be logged in, so he can just access what is his own backup. So he cannot access, even that is encrypted, he should not access any backup that is not his own. So what I did is that I told that I have the backup, and only the user should be able to view and edit the backup. And it returned the JSON of the rules of Firebase. It's very useful, because the rules of Firebase is something that you need to touch probably every other year. Like, it's very low frequency, so you will tend to forget this kind of stuff. And yeah, in this kind of tasks, it's also very useful to use ChatGPT. Okay, and now let's talk about how to integrate ChatGPT on your routine. So how should you use this? Because the problem when you go to ChatGPT to a browser is that you have like a lot of distraction. Like, all these icons are like asking you to distract you, and the browser it's very bad for productivity, and it tries always to give you a different stimulus that you don't need right now. And so it's very good to go to the menu, more tools, create shortcut, and you will have something like this. So you will have Android Studio, and you will have the ChatGPT on the same screen, so you can be totally focused, and it's very useful for copying errors. So if you have some error here on Android Studio console, you can just pick the error and combine it with the code that is having the error. So if you just pass some error and some code for ChatGPT, it probably can help you, and it's much easier when you have it right now, and you're always seeing what will really help you to achieve the final result that you want. And another thing that is very useful for interacting with ChatGPT is, as we are seeing right here in the package, so we have everything divided in micro frontends, in micro apps, so everything is very divided, so you can pass always very little scope to ChatGPT, because if you try to pass something like, if you have like 1,000 lines of code, like, it will be too much to ChatGPT to understand and to give a good feedback. But if you have everything divided and everything testable, like, it's much easier to take advantage of these AI tools. So, okay. as a conclusion, so ChatGPT can help us on productivity, so to do the same task but faster. It can also let us be more productive in terms of quality, so to deliver better solutions, especially like regarding the energy, like the case that you have like a lot of stuff to review and you are tired and you cannot like read everything with all the detail that you should. You can also be much better in your final solution using ChatGPT. Also, it's very good to when you are learning something from scratch, like it can really help you because it like you can explain exactly why you are not being able to achieve something, and it will help you. And where ChatGPT is not as good, so when you have a problem that is touching all parts of the application, then it's much more difficult because, like, if you don't have, even if you have micro front ends, like you have the part of your application that is very segregated and just do one single task, and you have the ones that integrate everything. And in that kind of task that integrates all the stuff, it's much harder to use ChatGPT because the amount of context you'll need to pass, it's too big. It's too big for the AI tool to get it and to summarize at some point. And one example that I also had where it was not that useful was, like, we have two different libraries for SVGs in Flutter. One is more used and another is less used. And when I wanted to use, for some reason, what was not as common, like what ChatGPT will try to do is try always to send me to do what is more used. Because, yeah, these models are trained in quantity of data. So they are not aware of your specific problem. They are trained on what exists. And most of the times they will try to redirect you to, yeah, what is more used and not exactly what you need. And yeah, that's it for today. Do you have any questions?
Force developer to learn about the code behavior, about the product, such kind of things. If everyone uses ChatGPT to fix issues, so it might be a problem in the future for architecture. It is not probably scalable solution. It is just like crutch in this part. So does it lead to have less maintainable code in reality because people just fixes issues or something like this without any context and without enablement to, I don't know, to learn a bit about the code around?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, because you are not, you don't have the same like reward on reusing something that already exists because it's too easy to just create something from scratch again. Yeah, that's true. Like, but you can use like something like Sonar, some tool that sees patterns of if the same code is being replicated too much time. Like code duplicated is something that you can measure. So if the same line of code is on multiple places, especially if it's like 20 lines of code that are in different places, and you find that problem. ChatGPT can also help you on that. So first, what you probably should do is that you should come to ChatGPT and say, okay, I have this class right here. Please do me a unit test. So you can start the refactor. So you can test both classes, have the unit tests running and passing, and then you can come to ChatGPT and say, okay, I have two classes. Try to create a third class that will unify what is duplicated here. And it will give you like the entire result of stuff that is reused. So for example, I used a lot, for example, on shell script, because we have a lot of scripts for cleaning, for like to delete the build files. For example, we have a lot of dependencies on mobile apps, so the pod installs dependencies for Android, for iPhone, for a lot of stuff. And when you do migrations, you tend to need to clean everything, and you tend to do the pub-get, for example. And we will have different stuff on different scripts, and I was not a specialist on shell script. And I used it to, okay, I have this stuff, I have this code right here, but I'm duplicating a lot of code. So it can help you, yeah, also in maintainability.